In the meeting, councillors, at 5:38. I'd like to welcome you all here this evening to our meeting and also welcome the members of the public that are viewing this Zoom meeting. And due to the current COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the newly legislated state government requirements, the May ordinary meeting will be undertaken as a virtual meeting conducted using webinar facilities. The council chambers will be closed to members of the public. All questions from the public must be submitted in writing prior to 1 o'clock on Tuesday, 19th of May 2020. A link to the council meeting for viewing by members of the public will be available via the council website. Recordings of the council meeting or parts thereof cannot be copied, recorded, reproduced, reused or transmitted without the prior consent of the General Manager. Council acknowledges that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Wiradjuri and Gundungurra people and respects the history and culture of the elders both past and present. In the absence of Councillor Gibbons, who was going to offer the prayer, I wonder if Councillor Doney might fill that function.
Madam Mayor, Councillor Gibbons has just joined us. I'm just unmuting him.
I don't have a visual or sound.
Okay.
Councillor Doney, would you like to offer the prayer? Lynette, could you unmute Councillor Doney?
Madam Mayor, I'm trying, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Councillor Doney, could you please unmute yourself?
Thank you. Unmuted. Councillors, due to the Zoom meeting, we will remain seated for the prayer this evening. Thank you, Councillor Doney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for wisdom in government. We seem to be seeing a lot of it around at the moment, which is wonderful and refreshing, where they're making decisions for the greatest good. Pray, Lord, that the values that we cherish in our community are the things that we hold on to at the moment of this time of trial. And we thank you for friendships and companionships and caring for each other as the most important thing before us. We pray for those workers and employers who are feeling great financial stresses. We pray that the government assistance may be of value, that we may assist them and be some sort of network of support to them in our family and outside our family. And we give thanks, Lord, for those in the community, in this council, in the medical services, and in all the public services that are helping people at need and being the front line with this virus at this time. We ask your blessings upon us, Lord, and safety upon our entire community. Amen.
Thank you, Councillor Doney. Record of attendance, councillors. We have no apologies this evening. We're welcoming Councillor Gibbons to the meeting. Page 5, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest this evening, councillors? No declarations of interest, thank you. Page 6, there are no presentations this evening. Item 7, questions from the public. I'll pass over to the General Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tonight there's 4 questions from the public. The first is from Keith Sullivan. Keith has put in a submission in regard to the potential for a relocation of our sporting precinct and has asked that he hasn't received a response to, apart from an acknowledgement from the Mayor, and has raised a number of questions for councillors. Because they haven't, he's asked 3 additional questions, and they are: is there a business case including a cost-benefit analysis for all options relating to the sports ground relocation? If so, could they be made available to the community? The second point is, if not, will council take action to ensure that the interests of the community are protected by having a detailed business case prepared by an outside qualified professional to enable council to make an informed decision? And the third bit, will the council in conjunction with this action have a similar cost benefit analysis and business case developed for the proposed new library hub, which is understood that currently provides for the demolition of the existing Bob Hooper Centre? Included would be the expansion of alternative sites. That is the first submission.
Are you taking that on notice or answering that, General Manager?
Happy to take that on notice, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
The second question, the second letter is from Sig Sovic. In the correspondence it says, my name is Sig Sovic. I'm asking on my own behalf and following 4 related questions directed to the Mayor. What date was the town improvement levy as presented imposed, established by decision of the council? 2, what were the specific and formal processes for which the TI fund was established? 3, since inception, has the council formally or informally changed the purpose of the TI fund? And 4, was the duration of the levy as established open-ended, or if not, what is the expiry date for the TI special rate?
Thank you, General Manager. As that email question was directed to me, I will take that on notice pending consultation with relevant staff members. Thank you.
And the third letter is from Philip Haynes, and it's directed to the Mayor. In regard to your reply to my letter about the manipulated / fake SRC poll and my questions to Dr. Shanti Sivanaswaran. 1, did you make a commitment to look into the SRC poll? And there are a number of people who were in attendance at that meeting who are willing to testify as to what was said. Just because it was edited from the minutes doesn't change anything. I trust that when you say you will do something, you will do it. 2, and why would you not want to look into the poll that was obviously not getting to the truth and the real numbers of residents against fluoridation? 3, as to my unanswered questions to Dr. Shanti, I will repeat what I said before. She made a commitment to get back to council with the answer to my question. As an Oberon resident and ratepayer, I expect you to follow this up and get a reply. 4, and may I remind you and all councillors that you were elected to serve the residents of Oberon in their best interests and not the other way around. I asked these same questions at the April meeting and you refused to answer them, claiming you had dealt with them. Well, where is the proof? Simply saying the words, I've dealt with the issue, is not good enough and means nothing to the residents of Oberon. You have not yet answered my questions about the SRC poll and Dr. Shanti. If you again refuse to answer these questions, could you please explain to the 75% of residents in Oberon who do not want their water supply poisoned as to why you will not answer the simple questions? I should not have to remind you that you stood for council to serve the residents and not the other way around. Councillors should always respect the wishes of the residents first over their own personal views, especially when the overwhelming majority do not want their water poisoned.
Thank you, General Manager. And my response is also unchanged. I have replied a response on 2 separate occasions and I've got nothing further to add to this matter. Thank you.
The final letter is from Mr. Hardy Dryham. The first point is, can GM Wallace please share with the community what brought about the change in title from the Director of Finance and Community Services, now reclassified as Corporate Services Director? Does Council have a current Director of Finance? If this is correct, all structural changes must be ratified by councillors prior to them occurring. I'm happy to answer that question now, Madam Mayor, and the answers to those questions were previously provided to council and council endorsed that structure. So I think that answers that question. The second point is, can GM Wallace please elaborate on the current situation of the Bores project? What is the final cost of the project? Is the O'Connell bore in use? It is rumoured council staff allegedly having advised residents that the bore was not operational due to some legal issues, indicating that the bore/tank could be on the wrong location. Why was the community not informed on these developments relating to the O'Connell bore? Well, I can also answer that question, Madam Mayor, and the bore is active. It is on the right land. Queries around old title versus a new title when council undertook a subdivision on that parcel of land have been answered, and the cost of the bore has been previously provided to councillors within the reallocated budget. The third question relates to residents were informed 2019 the purchase of a house in Dart Street was a sound investment proposition, justifying a further $40,000 for the renovations. Recent developments, as pointed out by Councillor McCarthy last meeting, put this sound investment decision in doubt. Oberon's timber industry had dozens of staff houses which were sold off in the 1980s and 90s as employee sentiment changed and the true cost became apparent. Staff wanted to choose their own home and own location, just as it's happening with Oberon Council trying to attract staff now preferring to live in Bathurst rather than Oberon, leading to a vacant home in Dart Street paid for by residents and now subsidised by residents. When will the council look after residents' assets and investments, filling this vacancy, collecting rent? The answer to that question is the current dwelling is in the hands of an agent. Under COVID, those are restricted in how they can operate. However, it's envisaged that rental accommodation will go out in accordance with those public health requirements. The final point is that in closing, questions from April meeting are still outstanding. When will the Mayor and GM respond to those and answer? That is the questions, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And in response to the last comment of Mr. Draheim's questions, I have answered Mr. Draheim's inquiry by email. Thank you, General Manager. Confirmation of minutes, councillors, page 6. The recommendation is that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 21st of April 2020 be accepted and confirmed. Can I have someone to move that way, please? Councillor Kellam and Councillor Capel. Any business arising, Councillor Kellam?
Nothing, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Capel? Any other comments, councillors? Put the recommendation that the minutes be accepted and confirmed. All in favour? Carried, thank you. That the minutes from the Finance Committee held on 5th of May 2020 be confirmed. Can I have someone to move that way, please? Councillor Doney, and a seconder, please. Councillor Kellam. Any business arising? Councillor Doney.
Sorry, Ian, but you'll have to unmute yourself. For some reason, I can't unmute you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, I'm quite happy to pass these.
Thank you. Councillor Kellam. Any other comments, councillors? Any other business arising? I'll put the recommendation. All in favour? Carried, thank you. Page 7. Mayoral Minute and Report, item 0901. The recommendation is that the report item is received as information. Can I have somebody to move that, please? Councillor Capel, and a seconder, please. Councillor McKibben, thank you. Councillor Capel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Another busy month for you. I just wanted to make a comment about the visit by the ABC's Philip McDonald to the area. what an excellent job she did for us. I thought the reporting was excellent. The coverage we got was phenomenal. I think I saw her as well as the main program on Saturday or Sunday night, whatever it was. She was also on Friday night, and then on the radio as well. I heard her a couple of times talking about us on the radio, and a huge coverage on the ABC's Saturday Talk About program on Saturday morning, where she obviously was very taken with Vicky Walsh at the laundry, because she gave her a very, very excellent reporting. Well done to everybody.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, look, I've got nothing further to say. I think both I saw two of the ABC, the two on the ABC TV, and I thought they were excellent. Certainly put Oberon in a very good light, and with the issues of Genolan Caves, the economic impacts, and also the bushfires, and the impact that it's had on the economy. And I thought, I thought it very well, and I take my hat off to all those involved.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments on the Mirror Minute, councillors? Councillor Doney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just two quick ones. There's quite a few items about the museum, Oberon Museum Society and Precinct, with the Skoda Tatra and Cole Roberts, etc. Can you just give us a report on what's going on there and what are their concerns?
Cole Roberts came to see me. He wanted to update staff, council, myself and staff, on the direction of the Oberon District Museum, and he had some suggestions about some collaboration that could be possibly occurring with the other two facilities within the precinct. He asked if we could have a meeting and if I could facilitate it to discuss some of his suggestions, and I am at the moment facilitating that meeting.
So they are potentially positive developments.
He has some concerns, but mostly he's very positive about the work that's been done and a possible future direction for the museum.
And secondly, the letter of the 23rd of April from Sig Solvik, is that something that's going to come before council at some future point?
This will, when we start to talk about the operational plan, this will be then included in that discussion. And I've advised Mr. Sovic of that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all.
Thank you. Any other comments on this one, councillors? I'll put the recommendation. All in favour? Carry. Thank you. Page 11, notice of motions. There are no notice of motions this evening. Councillor and delegates reports. Item 1101, Upper Macquarie County Council meeting, 17th of April 2020. The recommendation is that the report item is received as information. Can I have somebody to move that, please? Councillor Capel, and a seconder, please, councillors. Councillor McKibben. Councillor Capel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't think there's anything further to report. That was what happened at the meeting, and if anybody wants anything more, we can fill them in.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think just to add to Councillor Capel's paper, which is excellent, I think currently there are they've been issued 10 fines, if I'm not wrong, with several others coming along. We're doing, I think the Upper Macquarie is doing a great job in encouraging people to actually fix up the problems with weeds prior to them getting to that situation, which is obviously what we don't have to do. There was a very good article in the Central West Daily, which is the orange paper. I think it was 2 to 3 weeks ago, about the Upper Macquarie County Council. So, and we also understand that the Mayor of Orange has been very interested in the activities of the Upper Macquarie County Council. And there is some potential that we may be asked to assist other people in putting appropriate regimes in place to enforce the Biosecurity Act, because we're seeing it currently at the forefront of this.
Well done, thank you. Any questions on this one, councillors? I'm going to put the recommendation. All in favour? Carried, thank you. Committee reports, page 13, item 1201, Oberon Youth Council. The recommendation is that council receives report item 1201 as information. Can I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Capel, and a seconder, please, Councillor Kellam. Councillor Capel.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, it was a fairly quick meeting. It was good to get all of the youth councillors together. There was a couple of surprises for me there. One thing that I was heartened by was that they are no better at Zoom meetings than we are. And the other thing was I was taken with the number of them who are still at school, whose main aim was to get back to school. They were missing the school, the regularity, and all of that sort of thing. So yeah, it was a good opportunity to get together with the young people.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kellam.
Nothing further to add, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions and queries on this one, councillors? I'm going to put the recommendation. All in favour? Carried. Councillor Gibbons. All in favour. Thank you. Page 14, councillors. Item 1202, Community Services Committee. Recommendation is that report be received as information. Can I have somebody to move that, please? Councillor McKibben, and a seconder, please, councillors. Councillor Kellam, thank you. Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. An excellent report, and I think it's good to what's being discussed about what we have to do when we come out of it, and also looking at the more vulnerable members of the community and how we can assist them in this COVID-19 situation. And also looking at obviously the tourism sector and how we can recover from the COVID-19. Obviously, that all these things are largely dependent on how quickly we can get back to normality or subnormality, and people start travelling again, and people can move out of isolation. Obviously, as I think was indicated before by actually Councillor Doney in the prayer, there are a number of people in all areas that have lost their jobs or are working at reduced hours or that are suffering. So I think this group is doing an excellent job in trying to identify all those things.
Thank you, councillor. Any other comments or questions on this one? Oh, Councillor Kellam, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I support Councillor McKibben's words. The last issue on the report, of course, is where the Honourable Mr. Michael McCormack talked about connectivity in the regions, and I hope that he gets rather enthused by this, and we may get a better service out in the regional areas.
Thank you, councillor. Any other comments on this one, councillors? I'm going to put the recommendation. All in favour? Carried, thank you. Page 19, item 1203, Black Springs Community Hall Committee. There is a recommendation there in two parts, councillors, that the report item is received for information, and that the Black Springs Community Hall Committee meetings to be held at 7 p.m. during daylight saving and 6 p.m. during other months of the year. Can I have somebody to move that recommendation? Councillor Gibbons, and a seconder, please. Councillor McCarthy. Councillor Gibbons. Councillor Gibbons.
Sorry, Councillor Gibbons, you'll have to unmute yourself. I can't unmute you. just down on the bottom bar on the far left-hand side. That's it. No, that's not. Let me try again. There. I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, I'm having trouble with Kerry's volume. He can hear us, but I can't unmute him.
You unable to unmute yourself, Councillor Gibbons? Trying, yep. Can read those lips. I'll go to Councillor McCarthy while Councillor Gibbons is doing that. Councillor McCarthy, do you wish to speak to this report?
It's pretty straightforward, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
I'll just try one more thing, just bear with me. I'm sorry, Mayor, I'm unable to unmute him. For some reason, some people I can and some people I can't.
Come in, Robin.
On the bottom bar, there should be a mute and unmute button. It'll be a picture of a speaker.
The red one. That's it.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gibbons.
Yes, that's a good report and a full report of the meeting. The Black Springs community is really keen to get back to have a community meeting and to get some of these discussion points here sorted so we can get moving again. So I think we have a meeting coming up in July. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments on this one, councillors? Councillor McKechnie, are you indicating to speak? No. I'm going to put the recommendation. Councillors, all in favour? Carried, thank you. Page 23, councillors, reports for decision. Item 1301, Plant Hire Panel 2020-21 financial year, bracket T2020-2, bracket. The recommendation is that the 23 tendered and compliance submissions be adopted as the preferred pre-assessed contractor panel for the 2020-2021 financial year. Can I have someone to move that recommendation, please? Councillor McKechnie. Do I have a seconder, councillors? Councillor McKibben, thank you. Councillor McKechnie.
Yes, Madam Mayor, fairly straightforward. The process has followed all the guidelines and the selected or recommended contractors or suppliers have met the criteria and they meet all the WHS and insurance requirements. So I think it should be accepted.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I would agree with Councillor McKechnie. The only comment that I would have, I assume that these people on the panel, we have some form of standing order agreement with them for when they're engaged, as under what terms and conditions?
Yeah,
normally with the sort of thing you do have a standing order, which basically has terms and conditions and says if you're engaged, these are terms and conditions that apply. And it's usually somewhat different from a purchase order.
Yeah, through the chair, there is a wet hire and a dry hire terms of conditions in terms of when we do engage a contractor or a supplier, and that clearly stipulates the terms that we expect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Technical Services Director.
Is that it, Councillor McKibben? Any other questions here, councillors? I'm going to put the recommendation. All in favour? Carried, thank you. Page 26, councillors, item 1302, policy review, policy 2103, leave policy, and 2126, domestic and family violence policy. There's a recommendation in two parts there, councillors, that the revised policy 2103, leave, be adopted as presented. Revised policy 2126, domestic and family violence, be adopted as presented. Can I have someone to move that way, please, councillors? Councillor McKibben and Councillor Callum. Councillor McKibben. Councillor McKibben, you've turned away from your mic.
Sorry, Madam Mayor?
You turned away from your mic. We couldn't hear you.
Sorry, I've got another screen that I'm looking at the agenda, the items. Sorry.
Okay.
Just because I find it hard to flash back and forward. So I think both these policies are obviously required and needed, and the domestic and family violence one obviously has to be adopted. I think from memory it allows, it's 10 days for permanent employees and up to 10 days for casual employees. I'm just wondering, the up to 10 days for casual employees, how is it assessed exactly what entitlement a casual employee is entitled to if it says up to 10 days per annum? I notice there's no carryover from year to year. And I do thank the General Manager. I do think that it was the leave policy was marked up, and also have we done any financial implications as to what's the domestic and family violence adoption could cost us? We have to adopt it. I am absolutely in support of that, but I just want to know if there are any financial implications, because it gives up to, as I said, it gives up to 10 days, gives a permanent employee can take up to 10 days a year, and then it's a bit uncertain because the casual employee can take up to 10 days a year, what that may mean.
To the General Manager.
Yeah, through the Mayor. Yeah, Councillor McKibben's right. There is some discretion in regards to whether a casual employee and what part thereof would be they would be entitled to. Generally, that would probably relate from our perspective to the timing around how much casual work they do for council. So there, yes, there is some discretion. In regards to the cost, I hope it costs us nil. However, these things are something that we need to respond to, and at the end of the day, a majority of our staff, subject to a number of criteria that we would otherwise go through, are able to take an additional 10 days of leave, and that would be an additional 10 days times the number of employees that we have. However, in saying that, I would hope that it's minimal.
Councillor McKibben.
So, Madam Mayor, I suppose my question is, should we make a provision in the accounts for this? Obviously, it would be not appropriate to make a full provision because, you know, not every employee is going to take it. But should we, for prudence, at least make a provision or some allowance that, I don't know, and I leave it to management, but it could be 1 or 2 employees take it a year.
Thank you, Councillor.
Through the Chair, from my perspective,
that's
too many. However, we do cater for that now. As part of this employee leave entitlement, we will cater for that through our accounts. Not for everyone, but we will cater for it in some degree.
So there will be a line item in the accounts that says provision for domestic and family violence, a bit like sick leave or something?
Through the Chair, yes, there will be.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Callum.
I'm happy with both leave policies. I note in the family and domestic violence leave policy on paragraph 7, we have a provision for people that may use council communications methods to harass or threaten people to be liable to sanctions. And I think that's a wise paragraph to have in there. That's all, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this one, Councillor Doney?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just, reviewing in particular the situation of the casual employee, I note from the General Manager's report that our casual load is fairly light. It's about 8 or 9 employees out of 81 full-time equivalents. But I note Councillor's comment about the domestic and family violence policy, that the casuals are entitled to a similar allowance of 10 days. If I just go to page 35 of your report, and under sick and carers leave, this is the scribbly one. I just note, a casual employee is entitled to be unavailable to attend work. Great privilege, I've always thought. Or to leave work for up to 48 hours, 2 days per occasion. If the employee needs to care for a person in their immediate family, this leave will be unpaid. I'm just thinking of the position of a long-term casual employee, that in terms of sick and carers leave, they have no protection there whatsoever. Can I just have some comment on that one first? Is that correct?
Through the chair, that's correct.
So somebody who's been a casual for 2 or 3 years would still be entitled to no sick or carers leave.
Through the chair, under the award provisions, a casual who's been in a role that is constant and ongoing is entitled to become an employee of council after a period of time. So we wouldn't have a casual who is at 2 and 3 year ongoing casual. We would be looking at transitioning if that was the case. So once you transition, you would then be entitled to the provisions of the award as stipulated.
I think I'm aware of that. I'm just wondering, what's that timescale? Is that 1 year or 2 years? And if they nominate?
It's 12 months.
Okay. Thank you. Also on page 37, under health and well-being, 2 questions. How much time would the General Manager consider, availing to an employee under any of these opportunities on a yearly basis? And secondly, it is completely discretionary. Is it also discretionary to all classes of employee, full-time, part-time, casual? Through you, Madam Mayor.
Through the chair, it's 2 days that's available for employees to take up health and wellbeing leave. It's a provision in the award. It's not an additional provision that council offers. It's entirely within the award, and the discretion is at the employee, not the employer.
Ah. And is it entitled to all classes of employee?
Through the chair, all except casuals.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments on this one, councillors? I'm going to put the recommendation. All in favour? Thank you. Page 49, councillors, item 1303, policy review, 1205, contractor management and audit update. The recommendation is in 2 parts, that report item 13.0 1203 is received as information. And part 2, revised policy 1205, contractor management, be adopted as presented. Can I have somebody to move that, please? Councillor Kellam, and a seconder. Seconder, councillors. Councillor Gibbons, thank you. Councillor Kellam.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a report which speaks to the Centium audit from last year and provides the first tangible documentation and actions to respond to that report and the shortcomings that were highlighted in that particular document. We're really only looking at the report itself, which is for information, and the revised policy 1205. I think the policy is a good start. I have provided some small amendments to Sharon to perhaps share with the rest of the councillors. It's about making good on some of the proofreading errors, but also a couple of issues about making a more clear document. Can you bring that up, please? All right, on the first page, there's one paragraph which I felt was quite unclear, and that was the issue about the legal matters. I've also think that we need to put in there a clear statement that this policy should be read in conjunction with Council's procurement and disposal policy, because they do interact quite regularly, although they are on different subjects. There is a lot of common ground. And on page 2, it's mostly just a couple of issues of clarity. The relevant documents are, of course, the contract management procedures, and the contract management policy is self-referencing and therefore is redundant. They're the only changes I would like to make to the document.
Thank you, Councillor. So are you proposing to amend? We don't really have to amend the recommendation.
No.
Can I ask for your seconder if he would agree with those suggested changes to get some compliance here? Councillor Gibbons?
Yes, agree with those changes.
Agree, thank you. Okay. Councillor Kellam, have you finished with your?
I have, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Gibbons, do you wish to speak to the recommendation?
Yeah, just I support the recommendation. It's detailed and step in the right direction. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments, councillors, please? And I can't see the full screen. I'm sorry, Lynette. Thank you. Other comments, councillors? Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I gave a list of changes for this through to the General Manager, and I also looked at it in tandem with Policy 1206 and the appendix to this policy, which is the contract management procedure. Quite a few more comments, as people will see. I was going to wait till a marked copy, Word copy came, but I decided that once I'd started that I would do the comments and I'd go right through. I acknowledge, as Councillor Kellam has said, that this is a first step in relation to fixing issues from the Centium report. My concern is that there is a considerable amount of inconsistency and inaccuracies between this document policy 1206 and the appendix to 1205. I believe that all three documents should be looked at together because they're so intertwined and interrelated. The comments I have, I can go through, Madam Mayor, if you would like. There were quite a number on 1205, which were a bit more, they dealt with some of the areas that Councillor Kellam has already spoken on, but they dealt with a lot of other issues. And my proposal is that all three policies, the two policies and the procedure should all be looked at together. It is a suite of documents. They are crucial to getting it right. Now, this is not an operational matter. We are looking strategically as a council, as councillors, at having appropriate policies and procedures in place. We can't have policies and procedures in place that contradict each other or that are inconsistent with each other or that are actually incorrect. My suggestion is that the recommendation is changed to defer approval of this policy 1205 and that all three documents be looked at in tandem and be looked at together so that we actually have a proper suite of documents that deal with contract management, and we also have a purchasing and disposal. And if you look at the breadth of the comments that I have provided, I have sent them to all councillors, I sent them to the executive management, you will see that there are a number of issues that go right across the whole concept. One of them is, in fact, legally, what contract are we offering up to people who are purchasing, you know, where we're purchasing more than $50,000 worth?
Councillor, are you proposing an amendment? Councillor McKibben,
I am proposing an amendment.
Can we get the amendment up before you start to speak to it to see if we can get a seconder? So your amendment is, Councillor?
That approval of revised policy 1205 be deferred until the June meeting, and policy 1205, policy 1206 and the appendix to policy 1205, which is the contract management procedure, be reviewed to ensure that they're all consistent and correct so that they can be put up as a suite of documents for approval by council.
Thank you. Could I see the amendment on the screen, please? You happy with that, how that is worded, Councillor McKibben?
Except there's missing words at the end, Madam Mayor, so that they can be approved together.
Do I have a seconder for this amendment, councillors? Councillor McKechnie. Okay, we've got an amendment before us. Councillor McKibben, if you'd like to speak to the amendment.
Madam Mayor, I've spoken to it basically. I don't know if Sharon would like to put up the document that was sent through with my amendments on it.
I don't think that that's necessary or available at the moment, Councillor. I'm sorry.
Well, it
all
was
councillors
sent
have
through
seen
as an
a copy
email,
of.
Madam Mayor.
All councillors have seen a copy of it, though.
Well, I think the reasoning is set out in that document due to the number of inconsistencies. I mean, we start off, if I can just, we start off saying that the contract management policy starts on the award of the contract when it actually starts before. And there are a whole lot of other areas. I'll just pull it up if I may. so that this policy shouldn't commence at the it should commence prior to the award of a contract. It's part and parcel of the procurement process, and in particular for contracts greater than 50,000. The contract management procedure, which is a document which is referred, deals with how tenderers are evaluated and the requirements of tenderers. So that's obviously prior to the award of a contract. There are a whole of areas missing, such as key milestones, KPIs, quality expectations, not dealt with in the contract management policy. It doesn't talk about a contract management plan being developed. It talks about key objectives being established after the contract. They actually should be established and in place prior to a contract being entered into. I think that for extensions beyond 30 days, bearing in mind that's a month, that should be with the general manager's approval, especially for large contracts, not with the relevant director. At the moment, the relevant director can approve extensions of up to 60 days, which is 2 months. I think that's too long to be left with the director. It talks about the contract specification setting out the management reporting regime. The council should have a management reporting regime that it requires on all contracts. And that should be a pro forma as to how you report. There is no reference in this as to how actually practical completion is achieved, or the completion of the contract by say, for instance, the delivery of equipment. Normally, it should set out that there should be an inspection taken by a officer of the council to ensure that practical completion on the equipment's fit for purpose on its arrival. There's nothing in it that is a crucial element in any contracting. There's an error in bullet 14. I believe it should be 50,000, not 250,000. The links to the other policies, there's typos, polies should be policies. And again, as Councillor Callum said, there was an incorrect reference there, which has been marked up in his version.
Thank you, Councillor.
That's my reasoning, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor McKechnie. If council does not see its way open to agree to this amendment, then I would at least ask that consideration be given to the number of issues I have raised in respect to 125 contract management policy, and that procurement and disposal policy 12A6 and the contract management procedure be looked at prior to the next meeting, in order to have some consistency and the documents can be accurate. There is nothing worse within council when we have policies and procedures that contradict each other. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McKechnie.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I support Councillor McKibben's comments and his amendment. The contract management procedure and policies was highlighted as one of our problem areas by the SEDIM report, and this is an opportunity we have to make vast improvements in that area. And I think because of the interrelation between the two policies and the procedures, Councillor McKibben makes some strong points for reviewing them as a set of documents. And I think we should take the opportunity to do that and give ourselves the best chance of making the correct decision here and putting a policy in that is not only workable but strong for later on. So I support the amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Callum.
Amendment.
Councillor Kellam, sorry.
Madam Mayor, I foreshadow a further amendment to that amendment proposed by Councillor McKibben.
So a foreshadowed amendment will only come into play if the amendment is lost. Is that it, Councillor Kellam?
Yes.
Yes. Is there any other comments on this one, councillors? Councillor Doney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With reference to Councillor McKibben's amendment, first off, is it appropriate that we know the nature of Councillor Kellam's foreshadowed amendment?
Well, the foreshadowed amendment only comes into play when an amendment is lost, because it's foreshadowed.
But
Councillor Kellam, do you have any issue with having your amendment, your foreshadowed amendment stated?
No problem with that, Madam Mayor. What
Can I just ask the General Manager, is that correct procedure?
Yeah, that's correct, Madam
Okay,
Mayor.
thank you.
I thought so.
Madam Mayor, my amendment would seek to add a project management policy to that. That's the missing piece. The three things you need are a contract management, a procurement and disposal management policy, and a project management policy. They are the three corners of that particular triangle. And they all interact, they all build on one another, and they need to work together to get a full and complete picture of how you manage the business. And if you note, the first report item on the recommended actions refers to a project management framework, and that's the piece we're missing. And if we do them all together, we will achieve the aim we're after. Now, I note that 1206 is due for review anyway by council in August.
August.
I think that's quite possible to have all three put together and cross-referenced, and we make sure that the inconsistencies are ironed out.
Madam Mayor,
Thank you. Councillor Doney.
Still on my point.
Yeah, Councillor Doney.
Thank you for that, Madam Mayor. You know, I defer to the greater experience in some of these areas of my august colleagues, but I also look at the volume of detail and amount of work here. And if we're looking at reviewing these comments and adding Councillor Kellam's additional policy aspect, is the June meeting a fair target for staff and councillors to meet? Could I ask that through you to the General Manager?
General Manager?
Absolutely not, Madam Mayor. We won't make the June meeting with that. The idea of this policy is to create a new and robust contract management policy, removed from the procurement process, in line with trying to get some clarity around how we deal with contractor management, as was the intention of the Senior report to start with. I note some of the commentary made by Councillor McKibben in regard to comments around the procedure, and I'm more than happy to work with those offline. My intention was to create a new robust policy that allows us to continue to get on with providing that contractor management process in a consistent way. Take the point about project management, but there won't be a project management policy put in place by June. I can't see that occurring.
So, Madam Mayor, my final comment on my point, thank you, is that I support using the expertise we have, but Councillor McKibben may be having something to say, but I'd like to see a bit more.
Thank you, Councillor McKibben. I can see your hand.
I would like to see a little bit more resource allowed for this, that's all.
Thank you, Councillor. Obviously, I'm speaking against the amendment, councillors. Ultimately, policy 1205 is a strategic direction that we are giving to our General Manager, and that is our role as councillors. to give strategic direction. Ultimately, it becomes an operational issue then about how the General Manager carries out that direction, which is the policy 1206 and the appendix. I think I understand completely Councillor McKibben's concerns. The General Manager has indicated that he will work offline to develop the supporting policies 1206 and the appendix. He will work with councillors to do that, and they will be back before council in August. So I think we need to be very careful here of what is operational and what is strategic and what is the role of a councillor. Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also am concerned that we will not achieve this by June, so I'm happy for an amendment to August, but I'll talk to that in a minute. I'm also happy with Councillor Kellam's suggested amendment to add project management policy. I would comment, Madam Mayor, on the strategic and operational issues. As I said initially, strategically, we are obliged as a council to ensure we have the appropriate policies and procedures in place. The implementation of those policies is up to the General Manager. That is operational. I know that one of the great bugbears of local government and the local government solicitor is that a lot of times they have policies and procedures within councils that conflict. I was aware of your issue today. I did speak to the local government solicitor. I explained the policies and procedures and says, was it out of line to have them all looked at together? For us to provide input, obviously the General Manager does the work and does it. And I am very, very happy to work with the General Manager informally and with anyone else to make sure we have the right policies and procedures in place in this area. It's in everyone's interest that we do this properly. One of the greatest areas that councils can go wrong is in this contracting and project management area, as we're all aware. We have some very big projects coming up for this council. We obviously want to make sure we have it right. There are people out in the community and within this council who have certain expertise, and I think it should be used where possible. I am absolutely open to working with the General Manager to make sure we get this right. It is in all our interests, as are all our other councillors, I'm sure. I just think it's more appropriate to do them together so that they gel together and it's all correct. The last thing we want is to have a contract management policy in place and then have some sort of issue that may involve local content, for instance, where there is an issue, because one says we can put up to 10 points for local content. One of the other policies or procedures says, no, that's not to be considered. We need consistency. And I think what we should be looking is for an excellent suite of documents that serve Oberon very well.
In lieu of the Mayor losing connectivity, councillors, if you could...
Coup.
I don't think she's gone home.
Sorry, was that because I was speaking?
No, there's been a palace coup. She's gone.
Pull that offline and have that conversation with council about how they would like to see those procedures rolled out. I said there's a number of things that that the Councillor McKibben has raised that I could probably comment on, and the first being that this contract management policy details contractor management up to a threshold of $150,000 only, right? We've put provisions in place as part of the procedures to try and give certainty to councillors around what we as an organisation are willing to accept. And that is the tender threshold currently sits in local government at $250,000. I'm putting a prescriptive slant on that to say anything over 150,000 requires a tender in accordance with AS 4000. So there is some real distinct changes that this policy provides for, and I'm more than happy to work offline in formalising those procedures. But the only thing that I would comment on in terms of additions to the contract management policy as it sits, is that Councillor McKibben makes a connection between local and not local. Now, in the procedure, it says it's not preferred. However, if you are, it needs to be expressly provided for in the document. So those things, in accordance with the policy, provide for that to be catered for. I'm not trying to provide a policy that goes against the grain of any other policy that we have. The reason why the separation was purely to get that contract management policy in place, and that allows then an opportunity to create a procedure underneath that to give our staff direction in how we consistently develop these projects. But they are only up to 150,000. So those bigger projects have a more robust process that needs to be attached to it.
Thank you, General Manager. Councillor Capel, I'll try to unmute you. I'm sitting at Lynette's desk here. No, not working. How do I unmute Councillor Capel? Am I in?
It's your space bar, Don.
What you have to do is just select the picture.
Oh, okay. So Councillor Capel, select the picture, unmute. Councillor Capel.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Given that the General Manager has undertaken to work offline with councillors to progress this issue, I will vote against the motion so that we, in the hope that we might then move to Councillor Kellam's foreshadowed amendment, which includes project management.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, councillors, I haven't got the amendment in front of me because I've had to move desks, I'm afraid. So if there's no other comment, none. Right of reply, Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not quite sure what you heard and didn't hear before. You were cut off.
I don't know what I didn't hear either, sorry.
I don't know what I did.
Maybe if you could tell me what you heard. What I did say, Madam Mayor, is that I was concerned about the strategic and operational issue, and I had consulted local government solicitor and said that there is a policy. I agree with the General Manager in that the policies need to be separate because procurement and disposal deals with a lot of different things, but there is not an overlap, but they have to, for some areas, they have to be read in tandem.
Yes.
They are separate policies, but procedure for 1205 has to be consistent with the policy, and there can't be anything in the contract management policy that is at odds with what is in the procurement policy. For instance, I can't recall without going through it all my notes again. At one stage, it said, for instance, there were certain barriers as to what has to happen. In one, it said up to 49,999. Another, it said from greater than 50,000. So there was some inconsistency in the figures. I think the policies and the project management policy do need to be reviewed in some depth. Strategically, as a council, we should ensure that the policies are in place and are appropriate. And I also think that we're not talking about the implementation of the procedure, we're talking about the actual procedure being correct. Anyway, leaving the idiosyncrasies of what's strategic and what's operational on the side at the moment, I think that we have all indicated that we are willing to, we want to work with the General Manager to make sure that we have three robust policies: contract management, project management, procurement and disposal, and we also have a robust contract management procedure, which is an addendum to the policy.
Thank you, Councillor.
I've suggested a way to do that. I think June is too short. I agree with everyone. It probably needs to be August. I agree with Councillor Kellam's amendment.
Foreshadowed amendment.
Foreshadowed amendment, apologies.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lyon. Councillor Lyon. Oh, oh.
Brenda,
Councillor Lyon, you'll have to unmute yourself. You're not unmuting. Okay, I've got you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
I can hear you, but
My
I can't
reception
see
this
you.
evening is, yeah, I can't see me either. My reception this evening is so poor, I've missed most of what's been said in the last 10 minutes.
Right.
People's voices are cutting in and out, and I've lost most of the pictures. And my computer's telling me that it's poor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Sharon, could I ask that you bring the amendment back up on the screen? Meanwhile, I'll go back to my own desk. Thank you. Where's the mute?
right, you're ready to go.
Okay, councillors, I'm now going to put the amendment that the approval of revised policy 1205 be deferred until the June meeting, and that policy 1205, policy 1206 and appendix to 1205 contract management procedure be reviewed to ensure they are all consistent and correct so that they can be approved together. All in favour? I need to see the screen, I'm sorry. Councillor McKechnie, Councillor Lyon, Councillor McKibben. Against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The amendment's lost. We now go back to the original motion.
So we go to the
Foreshadowed motion.
foreshadowed motion, Madam Mayor.
Yep. I'm going back. I'm asking Sharon if she can put up the motion, please. Just in response, while Sharon's doing that, Councillor Lyon, I believe everybody in Oberon's had some quite dire NBN issues today. Councillor Kellam, would you like to put your amendment, please?
Okay. All right. What I want, Madam Mayor, is that we refer policy 1205 contract management and 1206 procurement and disposal to the August ordinary council meeting, and that the contract management procedures be returned to the general manager, and that interested councillors to work with him to ensure consistency. And that a project management policy also be provided at the August meeting.
Is that it? You happy with that, Councillor? Councillor Callum?
The projects. Yeah, just the end of the first line after disposal, deferred to the August meeting.
Happy with that,
That's
Councillor?
fine. Yes, happy with that.
Do I have a seconder to the amendment, councillors? Councillor Gibbons. Do you wish to speak further to the amendment, Councillor Callum?
Only to say that I think that this has been a very fruitful discussion to arrive at this resolution, and I think it'll actually work very well for all concerned.
Thank you. Councillor Gibbons?
Yes, through the chair, same here, great discussion amongst the councillors and management, and it's a works in progress. So if we don't rush it, we'll get it right. And it was a great discussion. Thank you.
Councillor McKibben?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I support the Councillor Callum's amendment. The only thing I'm not quite sure on is the word about the procedure being "and return to the general manager." I would have thought it should say something like "and councils will work with the general manager on an informal basis on the procedure," or something like that. I just don't think the words "and return" are correct.
Councillor Callum?
I'm happy for that to be amended to, what was it you said, Councillor McKibben?
Well, I just think and councils will work informally with the general manager on 1205 appendix, being the contract management procedure.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Callum?
I'm happy with that, Madam Mayor.
We'll bring that up in one moment. Councillor Doney, you wish to speak?
Only on the motion, Madam Mayor. I'm uncomfortable with the term "him." Should be the general manager, should be the title.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Councillor Doney?
The point where it says that councillors will work with him, I think "him" is inappropriate. It should be the position title, general manager.
Yep.
Yes.
Happy with that, Councillor Callum? Thank you, Councillor Doney. Anyone else speaking on this, councillors? I'll ask the Executive Assistant to bring up the amendment on the screen so we can vote. I'm going to put the amendment, councillors, that policy 1205, contract management, and 1206, procurement and disposal be deferred to the August meeting, and that councillors work informally with the general manager in relation to the contract management procedure. Further, that a project management policy also be provided at the August meeting. All in favour, councillors? Against? Motions against. Councillor Lyon, would you like your name recorded?
I did, yes.
Oh, you're
Said
delayed.
yes.
Sorry, you're delayed. Okay, that's carried unanimously, councillors. Thank you.
Work, Andrew.
So the amendment now becomes a motion. All in favour of the motion? I'm assuming Councillor Lyon is in favour. Yes, thank you. Motion is now carried. Thank you. We now move on, councillors. Page 91, councillors. Item 1401, monthly activity report, General Manager. The recommendation is that the report item is received as information. Can I have somebody to move that way, please? Councillor Kellam, and a seconder, please. Councillor McKibben. Thank you. Councillor Kellam.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have one question. That's on the road audit and the timing for the steering committee to review the draft document and for councillors in general to see the document.
So we're on page 94, councillors. Second item down. Is that correct, councillor?
That's correct.
Yep.
Through the chair, it's proposed for a steering committee meeting next Tuesday. The council will receive the document after a review from the steering committee in accordance with the terms of reference.
Thank you, General Manager.
Thank you. Is that it, Councillor Kellam?
Yes, it is, ma'am.
Councillor McKibben. Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, am I?
Yes, you're right.
Am I on?
Yep, you are.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I asked several questions of the General Manager. I don't know if they should probably go on the record, to the extent that they're of a general nature and don't have any confidential implications. So I don't know if they should be asked by me or whether they should just be added. I can ask them if you like, Madam Mayor.
I would ask you to be aware of confidentiality, Councillor Harris.
Absolutely, Madam Mayor. So I will put it in this frame.
Thank you.
Page 92, 93, item 32, 210519. The grant of 4.25 million was unsuccessful. So as I understand it, Oberon currently has 2 million state government, which I think the General Manager has indicated to me that is correct. Borg's obviously in-kind work.
You're bordering into confidential,
we are
Councillor.
looking. Sorry?
You're bordering into confidential, Councillor.
I understand that.
Borg's,
and we are looking.
Borg's contribution is at this point in time commercial in confidence.
I wasn't aware of that, Madam Mayor. I thought it had been mentioned previously. And we are looking at other grants elsewhere at this time to make up the shortfall. That's correct?
Correct.
And the DA at this stage has not been lodged for the development.
Through the chair, it was.
And there will be a limited opportunity for consultation. Is that the situation? Any idea when it will be lodged?
So through the chair, the issues that we see is that under the current COVID provisions, it doesn't allow for robust consultation, which we've indicated that we would do. So we've looked at trying to delay that until such times as we're in a position to be able to go down a consultation path that's a little bit more robust than just putting on exhibition.
Thank you. I know. Okay. The next item is page 94, which has already been asked by Councillor Kellam, and it's the schedule, the road audit working parties to meet next week. That's all I had in respect to the General Manager, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McKibben. Any other comments on this one, councillors? Councillor Doney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Page 97. Taking into account the extraordinary circumstances at the moment, there's one position has just been recently filled of the Director of Planning. But we've got about it, and that would take our position demand down from just on 10% to 9% vacancies. So, you know, there's 7 positions there unfilled. Only that it just makes me stop and think and look about it. It means that somebody's picking up a lot of work to cover those, and it also makes me wonder how we're going with filling that position, those positions, notwithstanding that the business recovery says they'll begin processes in May. That's just down a lot of numbers. So I suppose I'm just asking for a general comment through you from the General Manager, Madam Mayor. Is there any significance that we've got 7 or 8 positions available in a workforce of 81?
The General Manager.
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor. The recruitment phase has purely been delayed because of our current situation under the COVID-19 restrictions. Now, it would be pretty silly of us to go down a recruitment path and then not engage anyone until restrictions either ease or we can get back to some type of normality. What you'll also note is that under the current restrictions, we have deployed some people into different areas around the place, so they take up work that was otherwise earmarked for some of these positions. There is one position there that has we've had issues with recruitment, and we're looking at those options around that. The road audit for the survey and design engineer is exactly the reason why we don't go down that path of recruiting for recruiting's sake. We're going down the path of appropriate recruiting in the appropriate areas. So, yeah, like the number of positions are there to give council an indication why and where we are down on numbers, but a number of positions have been redeployed to cater for that shortfall during the COVID pandemic.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Doney. Is there any other queries or questions on this? Councillor McCarthy.
Yes, with the report on the road management, I was interviewed by Timothy McCarthy, and I was very alarmed to see that he hadn't been out and seen the Meadows Road where we just expended $2 million worth of roadworks. I thought that would have been a priority of his to go and have a look at those sort of projects.
Any comment, General Manager?
I'm happy to let the Technical Services Director give an indication on what sites that the consultant went to.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. General Manager. Through the chair, yeah, certainly Morrison and Lowe did go out to Meadows Road. They also went to Hazel Grove Road and been across a number of projects through the Shire in their assessment. So, yeah, they did certainly attend Meadows Road, Councillor McCarthy.
Councillor McCarthy?
When I spoke to Timothy McCarthy and had the interview on the phone, he had not attended that road.
Through the chair, the concern was raised in the standard of road that was constructed, and that's certainly a point of discussion we had with Morrison and Lowe in respect to Meadows Road. So I can confirm that definitely was the case.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McCarthy.
Sorry, through the chair, as part of the road audit steering committee, Councillor McCarthy, well, I'm happy to take that question to Tim McCarthy. He's the guy who did those works, and I was of the understanding that he absolutely did go to the Meadows Road. So whether there's some miscommunication there, but I'm more than happy, and I think Councillor McCarthy sits on that road audit committee to have that conversation with him.
Thank you. Councillor Gibbons and then Councillor McKibben.
Just through the chair, clarification that it will be a meeting up at the council next week.
Through the chair, if social distancing allows for it, then we will certainly look at that. Otherwise, I'm mindful of people on the committee and distances they are away. We might have to Zoom a couple of people in there to do that.
Is that it, Councillor Gibbons?
Yes. I just think it's time we can try and get some of these meetings with smaller gatherings up at the council. Zoom's not suiting too many of us, or some of us. But anyhow, we'll see what happens next week.
More than happy to take that on board, councillor, because but we do have to adhere to the social distancing rules. We are no different to anybody else, unfortunately.
Yeah, that'd be right, but I
Yeah.
think there'd be less than 10 people at the meeting.
Okay, we'll leave that with the General Manager. Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the General Manager dealt with the majority of it, to say why not raise it at the Working Party meeting next week, Councillor McCarthy's issue about the Meadows Road. And I probably agree with Councillor Gibbons in that I think for this coming Working Party meeting, it would be an advantage if we could have it in person. It will be under 10 people. And I think it would be good if we could have that meeting in the council chambers with appropriate social distancing. It may have to obviously be in the main chambers,
Yep.
which allows more distance.
Thank you, Councillor McKibben. We'll leave that one with the General Manager. Is there any other comments here on this report? I'm going to put the recommendation. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Page 106, councillors, monthly activity report, planning and development. The recommendation is there that the report item be received as information. Can I have somebody to move that way, please? Councillor McKibben, and a seconder, please. A seconder, Councillor McCarthy. Thank you. Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report speaks for itself. I commend the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McCarthy.
Pretty straightforward, Madam Mayor. I think it's about time we done something with the first item, the dog off leash area, but anyway, we'll see what happens with our new director.
Thank you. Any other comments on this one, councillors? Put the recommendation. All in favour? Thank you. Carried. Page 113, councillors, item 1403, monthly activity report, technical services. The recommendation is that the report is received as information. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Gibbons, and a seconder, please. Councillor McKibben. Councillor Gibbons.
Yes, through the chair, had some very good reports on the old Shooters Hill Road and the limbing that's taken place out there. It took a while to happen, but it's happened, and other roads are getting the same treatment, and it's working well, and I'd like them to know that there's been some very good reports.
Thank you, councillor.
That's it for the moment, thanks.
Is that it for you? Thank you. Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I'll just read the questions I asked the Technical Services Director, which have been replied to, I think, by the Technical Services Director or the General Manager. The STP Steering Committee meeting is being set up for Tuesday, the 29th of May, as I understand, and a time to be determined. The sewer logging data has, as I understand it, been completed. Further testing has highlighted hydraulic loading, however, the part of organic loading. Further testing was required for additional organics, which is to be completed in June. So I'm assuming the testing hasn't been completed, will be completed in June. Is that right, Technical Services Director? So we won't have the final results by the meeting on the 29th of May.
Through the chair, most likely not. There is some additional testing that is being discussed with our consultants on H2O, and that's also as part of discussions with state government that's required.
So we won't be in a position to finalise a submission to DPIE with a steering committee on the 29th of May. It will have to be subsequent to that, when we'll have all the coherent information to go into that report to DPIE. Is that correct?
Look, at this stage, it's really dependent on those test results being available, but we are anticipating to do our best to have those results. If not, then it'll be the latter, as you suggest.
So there's a possibility we could have them by the 29th of May.
we're working toward that, Councillor McKibben.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Sorry, yeah, sorry, it was just, I wasn't quite sure. All right, that's all from me, Madam Mayor. And I
Thank you.
commend the report as a seconder.
Thank you. Is there any other comment on this one, councillors? Councillor McCarthy.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. Could we get an update on what happened on Wednesday the 8th on the Castlereagh Highway works, that was contract works that we've undertaken?
Through the chair, the matter is being worked through currently, so we will respond accordingly through the general manager since I have that determined.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments on this one, councillors? I'll put the recommendation. All in favour? Carried, thank you. Page 121, item 1404, monthly activity report, corporate services. The recommendation is there that the report is received as information. Can I have someone to move this, please? Councillor Kellam, and a seconder, please. Councillor McKibben. Councillor Kellam.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good report. I just want to confirm that the COVID-19 update, which is one of your action items, corporate services, the resolution was to defer the 7.5% interest rate being charged on overdue rates for the duration of the pandemic, because there seems to be a bit of misinformation in the community on this issue.
Within the community, councillor?
Yes.
Right. We have put that out there.
That's how I recall the resolution, but it's been reported otherwise in the community, and I'm a bit concerned about that.
Right. To the director.
Through Madam Chair, yes, that is correct. The resolution was to defer the 6 month, the rental or lease for a period of 6 months, and I have spoken to one business who is applying for that at this current time.
Have you heard of misinformation being into the community?
No, I had a discussion with my rates officer over the last couple of days, and we have not had anything said to us about it.
Thank you. Maybe we'll address that with a further release, councillor.
Yes, that's all, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any other? Councillor McKibben, did you have something?
I have, Madam.
Yep.
Madam Mayor, I've just lost my document somehow. But anyway, first, I think the first one was in relation to. And sorry, as I said, I've lost my questions. In relation to the audit. The auditors requested further information in relation to the decision on investments. Have the auditors, I understand, don't want any further information from that I provided in that paper to you, Director of Corporate Services. Sorry, I'll just close my phone off.
Through Madam Mayor, yes, that is correct. They have the information that they require, and we will bring that back to council.
And I'm just trying to find the other one. As I said, I've lost
logging data, maybe? Is it logging data?
Yes, the one was, yes, you were going to update us on the issue with Civica and the problems with Microsoft 365, etc.
Yep, through the Mayor, I do have the questions in front of me, Councillor McKibben, if that helps you. Yes, the comment on the delay with Civica has been resolved. There was a slight delay, but that matter has been resolved. You also asked me a question regarding the issue involving the delaying of the rates notices for a month as part of a recommendation later in the business paper.
Yes.
And I can confirm that there is no impact on that, and I will discuss it when we get to that report. The other question that you
Okay.
had for me was about Borrow Box.
Yes. I think you
Um,
answered that we've moved to borrow box from.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I
Thank
think that's
you.
all I had.
Thank you, Councillor McKibben. Is there any other questions or queries on this report, councillors? Councillor McCarthy.
This is just some information I'll require for later. When the PCYC took over management of the swimming pool, they took over payment of the electricity accounts, things like that, didn't they?
Through the General Manager.
Yeah, my understanding is that's the case. We'll get back to we'll reply to that question appropriately.
So we don't know.
Take it on notice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McCarthy. Is there any other questions? Councillor Capel. Councillor Capel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, just for interest about in the information technology section, the Internet of Things I'm fascinated by. Parking sensors, bin sensors, it all sounds like a great idea. Are they installed? Is it working? And the people counter camera outside the toilets, will that involve facial technology, facial recognition technology?
Through the General Manager.
I'm happy for the Corporate Services Director to respond.
Through the Madam Mayor, Councillor Capel, just going to let you know that yes, those sensors have been installed and the data is currently being gathered as a trial. And I need to advise that the camera is not actually a camera, it's just a counter of people going in and out. It's not taking any visual photos.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Capel. Is there any other comments on this one, councillors? I'm going to put the recommendation. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Page 129, councillors, item 1405, Statement of Investments. The recommendation is there that council receive this report as information. Can I have someone to move that way, please? Councillors? Councillor McCarthy, Councillor McKechnie, thank you. Councillor McCarthy.
Pretty straightforward in this environment, thank you.
Councillor McKechnie.
No, nothing to add. It's pretty straightforward report. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Any other comments on this one, councillors? I'm going to put the recommendation. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Page 132, item 1406, Grants Monthly Update. The recommendation is there that report is received as information. A mover, please. Councillor McKibben, and a seconder, please. Councillor Kellam. Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. An extensive report, detailed. Page 132, library grant from the New South Wales Government, which I think is a great success, as indicated previously for the council to update our library. And obviously, the initial grant and application was 4.115 million. We've obtained 3 million from the New South Wales Government, and we allocated 385,043 for the minor upgrade previously from our own council resources. And we've received 100K from the federal government. My question is, and I note that the General Manager touched on it, I think on page 94, is I think that leaves us a shortfall of 630,000. So what avenues are we looking at to fund that shortfall? Sorry, page 92 of the General Manager's report, but are there any grant opportunities out there or any thoughts from the council staff?
Through the General Manager.
Through the Mayor, there's a lot of grant opportunities at this point in time, and we'll still look to do that. I'm interested in trying to look at what options are available to us through some type of revised scope to see whether we can still meet the requirements of the project within that budget. So as I said in my report, I'll be looking at those options and report back to council when we've got a better scoping of those requirements.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McKibben, you finished?
The other thing I just wanted to check was page 134, which deals with the Spartan event. I think we were seeking 2 grants for Spartan, 50,000 from the stronger country communities, round 3, and 30,000 from the drought fund. I understand we weren't successful with 50,000, but it looks as though we've obtained 30,000 from the Bushfire Community Resilience and Economic Fund. So I assume, therefore, there's about a 20, and I think that in General Manager's interest, there's about a 20,000 shortfall, which will have to be budgeted for in 2020-21 in our accounts. Is that correct? Through you, Madam Mayor, to either the General Manager or the Director of Corporate Services.
I'm happy to take this one, Madam Mayor, through the chair. That's basically what we'll be looking at.
Okay, that's all from me, Madam Mayor. I support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor McKibben. Is there any other questions on this one, councillors? Putting the recommendation, all in favour? Carried, thank you. Page 137, councillors. Item 1407, water usage drought assistance. The recommendation is that the report is received and noted. Can I have somebody to move that, please? Councillor Capel and Councillor Kellam. Thank you. Councillor Capel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, it's good to see the drought assistance water dropping to the level that it has. Although interesting also to see that some still quite large amounts of water going out. The 2 of them are quite substantial. But just a comprehensive report. That's all I needed to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kellam.
Nothing to add, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments on this one, councillors? Put the recommendation, all in favour? Carried, thank you. Page 138, item 1408, water and sewer plant report. The recommendation is there that the report be received as information. A mover, please, councillors. Councillor Gibbons, thank you, and Councillor Kellam. Councillor Gibbons.
It's through the chair, just a straightforward report. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kellam.
Happy with the report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments, councillors? Putting the recommendation, all in favour? Carried, thank you. Page 140, item 1409, operational plan deferral. There's a recommendation there that the report is received and noted. Can I have somebody to move that, please? Councillor Doney, is that you?
Yes, that's fine. Yes, Madam Mayor.
And Councillor Kellam, thank you. Councillor Doney.
I think this is a reasonable decision, Madam Mayor. I think it speaks for itself.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kellam.
This simply brings to our attention the changes in legislation and the deferral of certain milestones in our planning and reporting requirements.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments on this one, councillors? I'll put the recommendation, all in favour. Carried, thank you. We have one late report, councillors. Item 1410, 2019-20 third quarter budget review statement. There's a recommendation that the report is received as information. Can I have a councillor to move that, please? Councillor, can I have a councillor, please? Councillor Kellam, and a seconder, please. Councillor McKibben, thank you. Councillor Kellam.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This quarterly update reflects some of the extra expenditure we've had, and hence a slight deterioration in our overall anticipated budget outcome. But there are a number of issues we'll probably mitigate that in the last quarter of the financial year. For example, the extra road works that we've been come our way, and also some other issues improving that particular revenue stream. Tell the story, and I'm quite happy that we're still in a reasonable position. It's a relatively small deficit, and it's manageable.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, aptly reasonable that we have an update at this time as a result of the COVID-19 situation, and we know where we are or what we're facing. It is not ideal that we're facing a deficit in the current situations, but that's where we are at the moment. I did suggest to the Director of Corporate Services a slight rewording of one of the sentences in the report, which I think required some correcting. Quarter 3, I think it should say quarter 3 has seen council make headway into road capital works projects, which currently sits at a 90% of the budget. There's just a few errors and typos there.
Thank you, Councillor.
Just be good to when it's on that report is on the record that it's just slightly amended. It's just one sentence. The rest of it was fine.
I'm sure that will be done.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments on this one, councillors? Councillor Doney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we need to monitor this closely, but I do not feel yet that that size deficit is a serious problem for the council. I just had a couple of questions, they may, for example, on page 2, 4th paragraph under summary, it says there are increased expenses in the general fund relating to. And I sort of feel there's some inference that these things are affecting the deficit. Purchase of land at O'Connell and associated drawdown from restricted. Now, my understanding, though I haven't been able to get clarity on it for some time, is that there was at least 90,000, and should have been more, sitting in the land bank allocated to the potential buying at O'Connell. So assuming that money's drawn down, can I just have it clarified that that would have contributed to the deficit in no way whatsoever? It would have simply been expending money from the land bank. Can I just have that clarified, please?
Through the chair, Councillor Donny, yes, that is correct. What we've tried to do is give an overview of some of the increased expenses. It didn't necessarily mean that any of those individual ones were the cause of the negative effect. It was just an overall summary.
And again, Madam Mayor, then the bottom of page 3, where we're talking about expense 388,000 from the Town Improvement Fund, this too should have made no difference whatsoever to the deficit, but it would have been the expenditure of reserves and funds that we have sitting in town improvement. I just seek clarification on that one as well, so as to forestall anybody's misunderstanding of those money being spent from town improvement or towards the O'Connell Recreation Ground contributing to deficits at all. Can I just have that clarified on that last one as well, the Town Improvement Fund?
Through the chair, Madam Chair, yes, that is correct, Councillor Donny. The bottom of page 3 is simply stating that council has expended money that was allocated in the town improvements levy.
That's it for the moment. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
If I could, Madam Mayor, make just one statement. On page 3, there was a miscommunication between myself and the Technical Services Director. And I have, under Water Fund Capital Works, put there that it would, is on track for completion during the current financial year. This should actually say current calendar year. My apologies for that.
Thank you. Any other comments here, councillors, on this report? I'm going to put the recommendation. All in favour? Carried, thank you. Page 141, item 15. There is no urgent business this evening. Page 141, item 16, closed session confidential reports.
Madam Mayor, before you head into confidential, could I take a little bit of time, just if nothing else, to introduce Paul Sullivan, the new Planning and Development Director, who joins us for the first evening. I'm sure Paul will wave his hand. He replaces Bruce McDonald, who's been acting in that role now for the last since January this year. I just want to take the opportunity to thank Bruce and welcome Paul before we enter into closed session, Madam Mayor. Apologies.
Thank you, General Manager. I endorse those sentiments. Thank you. Page 141, item 16, closed session confidential reports. In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993 and the Local Government (General Regulation 2005, in the opinion of the General Manager, the following business is of a kind as referred to in section 10A(2) of the Act and should be dealt with in part of the meeting closed to the media and the public. I'd like to thank the members of the public for joining us this evening in our Zoom meeting. And a seconder, please. Councillor Capel. All in favour? Carried, thank you.
Now before you continue, I'll just close the gallery.
Yes, I'll now, what is it? 7:37 p.m. And open council resumed at 8:10. If the director could indicate when we're again Zooming.
You're recording.
Recording. The following resolutions were made in closed session and there were no members of the public present at the time. Item 1601, that council write off the expenditure $1,928.18 with no further engagement of work by agreement of the owner. Item 1602, that council reprioritise the swimming pool amenities project under round 2 of the Drought Communities Fund to the enhancement of the fitness centre. That council combine the amenities upgrade project with the recreational room upgrade project scoped as part of round 2, the Drought Communities Fund, and seek grant funding for the combined project under a separate funding source. I now declare the meeting open at 8:12.
Closed, Madam Mayor.
I'm sorry?
Closed.
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 What did I say?
Open.
Open.
Oh, I'm sorry, closed. Oh. The next ordinary meeting of Oberon Council will be held on Tuesday, June 15th, 2020, commencing at 5:30 p.m. Meeting's closed. Thank you, councillors.
Night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right. Thank you, everyone.